Hey, Jim Bob, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Stephen?
Good. A question for you. Have you guys looked specifically at the production from your opening drives in games? They've been pretty good, and you've generated a lot of points, but there does seem like to be a big contrast in the rest of the game. And I'm wondering, what do you see there, if anything? You guys rep those plays a lot, I guess, so there's a better execution. But I mean, I don't know. What do you think might be at play there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think oftentimes in the league, you go into a game with a plan to attack your opponent, and you sort of know those first calls, those opener calls are going to get dialed up. So you do spend a little extra time on them later in the practice week. You're able to focus on those things, and you hope to execute them better. We're trying to sort of maximize the execution of everything that you're going to call out there on game day, and sometimes you do feel pretty confident if something makes sort of that opening plan that it's going to get called. So we try to dive into the details of that later in the week when the time is right. As you go through these games, defenses are adjusting. We're trying to adjust right back. It's always a little cat and mouse game within games. So we're working to score points in all the quarters. But shoot, we want to keep moving the ball early in the games and just sort of pick it up a little bit where needed elsewhere.
Joel?
Jim Bob, early on this season, Anthony still had a pretty high yards per attempt because of the big plays, even when the completion numbers weren't necessarily great. His yards per attempt has kind of fallen. Why do you think it's been harder to get explosives in the pass game?
I think it's part of the weekly battles against some of these great NFL defenses, trying to move the ball, score points. We've talked about it several times this year where you're balancing maybe the hunt for big plays with the hunt for consistency. Whether you're throwing the ball shorter or deeper, attacking coverages in different ways with different guys. Make no mistake about it, that defense we just played is one of the best in the league, and they do a great job. We were sort of working like crazy to find every path we thought could move the ball forward, and sometimes those that decreases the amount of shots that you take as you go. Every week's different. Every opponent's different. Every game week for us is different just around the building here with, sort of who's up and who's down and how things are going with everybody. So we're looking to sort of ultimately have the best offensive outcome each week. Sometimes that'll have some shots down the field. Sometimes that'll have a few less than other weeks, depending on opponent, depending on our guys, all that.
Nate?
Hey Jim Bob, I was curious if you could talk through the play with AD Mitchell, the throwback, and that ended up being like a pick six. Nick Benito said after the game that it was pretty easy to figure out that it wasn't a screenplay because AD Mitchell hasn't really run any screenplays this year. So just curious, kind of why did you guys feel confident in that call, and did you think about setting it up previously with screen calls, or just how did you kind of arrive at that certain moment?
Yeah, anytime I think you put one of those sort of gadget plays or special plays or whatever you want to call those on the sheet, I think you're aware that you're playing with a little more risk and a little more reward. Sometimes you're looking for those sides to some of those special type of plays. I might cut in and out on you here because I'm checking the internet. Just y'all hang with me if I do. There's a little bit of downside in those things as well. We work like crazy to minimize the downside of that thing. But it's the reality of the NFL. Those guys are competing against us. We're competing against them. That play just didn't go our way.
Kevin?
Jim Bob, what's kind of your thoughts on the adage of players, not plays, in that offensive thinking?
Could you finish the back half of that sentence one more time? Sorry, I got cut out.
Yeah, just the old adage offensively of it's players, not plays. That's something you agree with, you disagree with. What are your general thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think we build our offensive system around the players that we have. We're trying to maximize the guys. I think that's how you get the most out of your guys in this league. You try to let them do what they do well and continue to build them up in areas that maybe they don't do quite so well, so that you can add different areas that they can sort of use to attack a defense. So we're always going to be very, very aware of who our players are, what they do well, maybe where they traditionally line up and what we can best do with them from those alignments. And when it comes time to switch it up, when to switch that up so that the defense doesn't have a great tell on that you're doing that.
James?
Jim Bob, how do you help AD Mitchell, I guess, not succumb to, I guess, the pressure of that play and that, quite honestly, being the defining play of his rookie season that hasn't had a lot of high points?
Yeah, listen, he's a young player that's working like crazy to make his mark in this league. I'm going to push back. I don't think that will be the defining play of his year. AD is a bright, up and coming young player. We're excited to work with him. We're excited to keep working on the practice field, keep working around the meetings, keep working in the games to get him involved, to get him the ball, to give him those opportunities. The future's bright for AD. Ups and downs within our season, especially when you're young, working through things in the NFL. But shoot, I'm betting on him. I'm betting on the upside. AD's going to keep going. He's going to keep working. I think bright days are ahead for AD Mitchell.